Hello? Hey, baby. Nah, y'all go ahead, man. I'm gonna sit back, get in the word a little bit, pray. Matter of fact, I might even write a letter to myself.
Good morning, and welcome to part 3 of creation, where we just got done talking about light, water, and the sky in part 2. And today we're going to go through part 3. I think it's only 3 verses, but these 3 verses are absolutely packed, and you can see God's plan just a step at a time. Without further ado, we're going to be in Genesis chapter 1, and today I believe we're going to be in verses 11 through 13. Let me read. Then God said, "Let the earth produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and fruit trees on the earth bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds." And it was so. The earth produced vegetation, seed-bearing plants according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. Evening came, and then morning, the third day. Now, if you've ever read this before and you just kind of blaze right through this, well, let's slow it down today. I told you before, I don't want to just fly through Bible stuff because there's so much information in sometimes 2 or 3 little verses, and I've thought about this a lot, and I just want to share that with you today and hopefully encourage for you to more understand the world God created for you and me. So, vegetation. We keep talking about tomato plants, and we're going to just talk plants in general. But I have a couple points here, so I'm going to look down at my pad as well. First off, I want you to see God's plan. We talked a little bit before about our memory verse in Romans chapter 1, verse 20. And then we started in. That was part 1. Part 2 is talking about turning on the light. Everything was formless and empty and dark, turning on the light so we can start work, giving us what we need with water, and giving us hope in the sky. Now God did that, right? And that's those steps. Then it's like, all right, this is what work is. Let's start doing something with this light, water, and sky, with this hope. And He produces vegetation. Just in itself, God's plan is pretty awesome because just like for us to be successful, God's going to do things in the right order. He's not a mess. He's not unfocused. He's not, I don't know, misguided in how He does things. Like he has the light and the water and the hope, and then He produces. It's not like He produced a plant and they go, oh, wait a minute, what do we need? And then go backwards. No, He does things in order. It's well thought out. Well thought out. Then He makes things according to their kind. Now when you read that, this is what people argue about with evolution and creation. I'm not even going to go so much into all that stuff because I accept it as creation, and I'm going to explain why, and you'll understand through the rest of this study today. According to their kind, to me, really sets apart how specific God makes things, creates things, and why. If it's about evolution, it kind of, well not kind of, it takes God out of the picture. And it says that whatever's been made is smart enough to change on its own to be successful. And that's just not true. Now, I work around a lot of smart people, and that's just not true. People aren't smart enough in their own minds or in the body that I believe God created to make these changes. God creates things for specific purposes, and we need to learn about those things instead of arguing about evolution with whatever proof people try to come up with, and we're just sitting around arguing about things. We need to learn about God's creation, and we could do so much more with it. The example I have with that is not tomatoes this time, it's actually lemons. God created lemon trees, which of course produce lemons. Lemons have a specific purpose, right? And of course to eat. But as I've grown more along with my wife and learning more about food, lemons have other purposes, not just making fish taste great. I learned this last year that lemons are used to preserve food. If you ever canned any food before, and I have to say it's because I think a week or two ago, and this is the end of January, we opened up our last jar of salsa that my wife made, and we preserved for the winter, and we enjoyed it in January. And we did that with lemons. Going a little science with you, there's a scale, a pH scale, that goes from 1 to 14, or 0 to 14, whatever. I think it's 1. 7 is right in the middle. 14 is really basic. 1 is really acidic. For you to preserve stuff, I think the acidity, if you were to test the juices, water, whatever that's inside of the jar, it has to be around 4.5 or 4 or so. Depending on what you've made, it's going to be a lot higher than that. Lemons have a really low or a high acidity. Their number is closer to 3, 2, 1, down that end. So when you mix the lemon juice with whatever you made and bring the acidity down, and you jar it up in a specific way, you can preserve other fruits and vegetables, or salsa in this case, for months. I just learned that. That's really awesome, because I get to eat salsa, fresh salsa, in January when we canned it in August. Part of God's creation, and I'm learning about what He created and how it affects my life and my family's life. That's just one of many examples, and that's just one example of what a lemon can be used for. I mean, think about all the baking stuff and all that. I mean, we can go on and on about even just lemons. But God created a lemon for specific purposes, and it's a joy to learn more about it. So according to their kind, now I'll summarize it, what it means for us at the end. Bearing seed now. Very specific in here, it talks about bearing seed. I find that very interesting as well. Because if you look at those same lemons, but I'm going to pick a couple fruits that have a lot more, fruits or vegetables that have a lot more seed in them. You ever cut open tomato, cut open a pepper, look at all those little black dots on a strawberry. That one piece of fruit or vegetable has multiple seeds inside of it. It's more than just about the fruit, it's about what's in it for the opportunity for more fruit or vegetable. You can see where I'm paralleling this now. It's not just about that tomato, it's not just about that strawberry, it's not just about that pepper, it's about spreading it out. This whole thing's not just about us, but about what we can do to spread out to other people. And inside of us, that seed is love. And God's plan is absolutely the best. the notes I have here is his light, his seeds, and his kind. His light. His light is the best. Now, to make it make sense, we're learning about growing plants indoors because it's the end of January. In February, you have to start growing some plants indoors if you intend on having some really strong plants in the early spring, because they might produce more fruit in the fall. And there's some indoor lighting techniques that you can do, and I'll go a little bit into specifics, but you can have those fluorescent lights about an inch off of where you have the soil and the seeds inside of there, light for about 16 hours, darkness for 8. I guess plants need to sleep too. And the plant starts growing up. To keep it just on light for right now, if you only grew your plant indoors though, people can actually taste the difference between a plant that's been grown only indoors and a plant that's been grown outdoors. With man-made light, fluorescent light, you can only go but so far, and you can taste the difference. With God-made light, the flavor is a whole lot better. Going a little bit more on plants, and since we're going to talk about this anyway, and God's creation, because I want you to also see the parallels that I do, because I think it's absolutely amazing. More about growing plants indoors. I have a friend that actually gave us a couple plants last year, and his plants were really, really thick and really strong. And when we put them outdoors, they lasted, right? It's like, well, what's your trick? Because I've tried to grow plants indoors, and they came out really, really stringy. And then when we put them outside, they died. He said, you know what? I actually have to put a fan on the plants. I'm like, what does the fan do? It's like, it gives the plant some level of resistance. So it actually grows up stronger. And when the springtime comes, when you have that weird period of time where it's really, really cold sometimes, and then it gets warm and it's up and down, you have to take your plants outside. It's called hardening. And you take the plant out for a couple hours, help them get used to the cold, and you bring them back inside, and then you do it longer and longer and longer until you keep it outside and say, here you go. So if you think about the light that it needs to grow, that it needs to essentially be tested with the wind that comes, and it needs to have some level of adversity, with the cold. It can't just stay indoors. Because like I said, you can taste the difference. When you think about it like that, I'm a father. I have 2 beautiful kids, thanks to my wife. It's like raising kids. If you keep your kid indoors and never allow them to go out and experience anything and keep them really, really sheltered, when they get out there, they're not going to last. You can help guide them through certain parts of their lives and decisions, but at some point you have to let go. God's doing the same thing with these plants, with vegetation, and He's helping us learn about it. And it's crazy because He's doing this before man comes on. Once again, He's building all this stuff, not just for us to eat, but also for us to learn who He is. Kind of like we were talking about with Romans chapter 1, verse 20. We can see His divine nature by what He's created. He has the same plan for us. This is a lot. We mean more to Him than a tomato plant. His seeds. Now I have to say this because I've actually just watched a documentary not too long ago that man even is trying to own the rights to certain seeds, which I think is a little crazy. I understand their idea that they've created some seeds that are resistant to pesticides and some other things, or products that will kill weeds, so it's easy to grow a lot more plants in a field. Farmers don't have to work as hard. But at the same time with that comes greed. They're out suing other people if they find that their seeds have taken over other farms. Not to mention, I'm going to throw it out there, I don't think that's the healthiest thing to eat. It's something that, I don't think it's healthy for us to be eating. The whole GMO and all that stuff, and things have been sprayed with all that mess. I don't think that's healthy, and I think that's one of the reasons why our own cancer rate has gone up, because we're trying to come up with a human system when God already has a system. Yeah, it takes a little work. It's not easy. But societies that grow more natural don't have the same cancer rate we do. God's plan just is better, including his seeds. And he gives it to us for free. I mean, people make you think that we have to go to a supermarket and buy their stuff. Are we growing stuff at home? I look at my city in Philadelphia, and it's a shame. I mean, when I take the L, I'm looking at all these roofs, the top of the house, in case you don't understand my English, and there's no rooftop gardens. Imagine what the city would be like if people grew their own plants. We preserved stuff over the winter, and we could share that with each other. We could end hunger quickly. We'll move on. His kind has a different flavor, has a different purpose, and his kind understands that they're created for a reason. We don't have to argue about things that don't matter. We don't have to sit in a room and debate. We just have to learn more about the talents and gifts, like I just talked about with lemons, the talents and gifts that he's created in every one of us to work together for a common goal, to spread the love. I did want to mention something else too, along with that. Kind of like God's taste, the taste of God's plants, you can tell there's a difference with God's people. You can see a difference. You can hear a difference. You can smell a difference. You can use the senses God created inside of you. Personal example, even this last year, I know people that watch the Eagles videos that I post can tell there's a difference by the way that I even talk, the way I express myself. I don't have to sit and curse it up and all this other mess that comes along with it. But because I'm God's kind. I'm not perfect by all means. I'm definitely not, and I know that. But me understanding that I'm God's kind, there's a different way that I grow. And I don't look to man to grow. I look to God to grow, and that's why I'm in the Word. And that affects the other things that I do because it's in the right order. If God's first, it's in the right order, and that affects everything else, including me, the taste of my life in this world. God builds his plan, and you're part of it. You can either accept that part and learn more about it, or you can reject it. It's a choice. But God has a specific plan, and he's mapped it out in order, and he wants you to be a part of him. And he wants you to understand what your kind is. Because you're going to have built-in talents and skills that you can offer to glorify God's creation, and glorify God, which is a good thing. Be thankful for what he's done for you. You have seed inside of you. You are bearing seed inside of you. You have love inside of you that he wants you to share with other people. But he wants you to be, like I said, in the right order. He wants you to learn about him first and learn what he's put inside of you, so then you'll be able to share with other people. But if you just try to love in your own way, it's going to come out awkward and just weird and a mess. But truly understand God's plan is the best. That's why it's very important to read your Bible for free. And like I always say, there's a lot of free resources out there because you can learn about God's plan for free. And we're taking Genesis through these beginning 7 days. But then after that, like I've promised, we're going to jump into different men, and I think maybe some women like Esther, Ruth, but we're going to jump into some people's lives and see how this is very parallel to people's lives. And I'm telling you right now, I'm living this right now. You know, God turned on my light and He gave me what I need to live. He gave me hope. And He's producing fruit in my life. And I'm trying to share with other people. And YouTube and these videos is just a part of it. The other day I made a piano one. Later on I'll do some workout ones, or if it's working on my car, or some landscaping stuff, or educational things, math and science, whatever it might be. But God's helped me understand the fruit that He's created in my life that He wants me to share with other people, and I'm doing it. And anything I've done for God has been successful. Like I said before, it's not easy. It's hard work. But it's worth it. So, like I said, I don't post things back to back to back to back really, really fast for volume of YouTube videos. I post slower for substance. I want you to understand. I want you to read along with. And right now, this is just 3 verses, but it's so packed. I didn't even go over all the stuff that I really, really, really thought I was going to talk about. But there's a part that I want you to sit and meditate on this, because it's real. And then when you'll see other plans down the road, because I just believe God's going to just keep on working, especially in my city in Philadelphia, and I hope no matter where you're watching this, no matter what state or country you're in, He's going to do the same thing. God's going to do something with this that makes sense, and that's in order and part of His plan. So please, a couple people have made comments before. I'm looking forward to hearing them and reading them and responding back to them. And I want you guys to get in the Word daily. Think about this stuff. Stay on this for a week or 2 or 3 or 6. I don't care. Whatever works. But pray about it. Say, hey, God. And if your light's already on, are you producing fruit? Are you sharing it with other people? Not just awkward invitations to church, but are you sharing the love that other people can see, hear, taste, whatever? I'm looking forward to going through the next couple days that God has, because we're just past the 3rd day. We're not even halfway there. And there's so much to talk about. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you can spread the word to other people. And I'll just end it here. I just hope you have a blessed day, a blessed week. And think about the fruit God's making and creating in your life that He wants to share. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. And have a great day.
God, I pray that You would teach me how to worship You in spirit and in truth. I pray that You would have Your way in my life, Lord. And that You would continue to make me into the man that You would have me to be. In Jesus' name.